to Pest Control Marketer. Grow your business like never before. Call 770-993-0004.
Well, hello, folks. This is Hal Coleman and Mike Stewart again. We're here with you with the next episode of the Pest Control Marketing Podcast and Pest Control Marketing.live, the only live streaming internet TV show totally dedicated to helping PCOs and WCOs get more sales, more new customers, grow their businesses, and make more trips to the bank. I am commonly referred to as Mr. Offline, and Mike Stewart, Mr. Online. How are you doing, Mr. Online?
Oh, I'm online with you, and glad to know that our listeners are waiting with bated breath for another episode of the Pest Control Marketing live podcast and live stream. So,
well, they wouldn't catch much with unbated breath, would they?
Well, I know if their breath was unbaited, they wouldn't catch a thing. You know a lot about bait, don't you?
I do. You see, I'm wearing a fishing shirt again today, don't you?
Yeah.
But this is not one that I fish with. I just came from my Rotary meeting, and I wear a nice, clean fishing shirt. I just like fishing shirts. You know, they're ventilated and they got good pockets, and they're made to keep you cool when the weather is hot. So they make really good shirts, even if you don't fish.
Yeah, and when Hal talks about something you see here, we're in front of cameras right now. And if you're listening to the podcast, you can always watch the video at pestcontrolmarketing.live. We archive it there. It's in the YouTube channel. It's also in the Facebook group. But more importantly, we try to deliver the content, give you the goods in the way you want to hear it. So what do you want to talk about today? You know, one of the things people in my podcast group here in Nashville, they say, what kind of preparation do you guys do? We said, I tell them from the heart and from the mind.
From the heart and from the mind and from the heart, from the mind, and off the cuff and on and on point.
And on point. So what are we going to talk about?
How many hours do you spend editing one of our podcasts?
Let's see. I'm up to about 0 right now.
Yeah. You know, if we belch or hiccup or sneeze, you folks are going to see it and hear it, because that's what we do. And we just started this, and you said, "What are we going to talk about today?" Yep. You have no idea what we're going to talk about.
No, I don't. I have no idea.
And some days you say, "What are we going to talk about?" And I said, "I don't know. I haven't come up with anything. You pick something." So you pick something. So, yeah, I was just reminded. Go along a little bit with what we want to talk about, of a famous Yogi Berra quote. You know, I like quotes. Mm-hmm. And a famous Yogi Berra quote said, if you don't know where you're going, you're likely to end up somewhere else.
I used to have a friend with a quote, no matter where you are, there you are.
Yeah. No matter where you are, there you are. So, you know, Mike, I had a guy tell me the other day, he was talking about marketing and times changing, and he said, well, you know, times change. And he said, selling is not like it used to be. When I hear somebody say selling is not like it used to be, you know, the first thought that comes into my mind, and I'll probably offend some people with this, but when somebody says selling is not like it used to be, I'm saying silently, because I'm saying, well, you just don't know anything about selling. If that's what you think, you don't know anything about selling, because selling is exactly the way it's been for the last 340,000 years. Mike, did you know that?
Well, I would think that strategies change, but principles remain constant. And
strategy, technology changes. You know, used to, people didn't have, when they sold stuff, they didn't have they didn't have a television, they didn't have a radio, they didn't even have automobiles, electricity, none of that stuff. They didn't even have a written language, but they sold stuff. You know, they say that people are fond of saying that prostitution is the oldest business in the world. But it's not. Somebody had to sell it.
Yeah.
And selling is the oldest profession in the world in history. But really, technology has changed, strategy has changed, media has changed, but true selling hasn't changed. You have to find something that either gives somebody pleasure or alleviates a pain that they have. And you have to find people who are willing to pay you for that. You know, the caveman came up with a fur blanket to wrap up in and keep warm, but he made another fur blanket to trade to somebody or sell to somebody. Maybe he sold it to him for a club that he wanted to use as a weapon, or he bartered with them for a dead rabbit, to eat. But it was always people through modern man throughout history, from the time of our creation or evolution, however you want to put it, whatever you believe, we try to find ways to keep from being hungry. We try to find ways to keep from being thirsty. We want to stay warm. When we're cold, we want to be warm. When we're hot, we want to cool off. We want safety. We want recreation. We want love and acceptance, and we want admiration of our peers. And so these are basic human. Some are needs. Most of them are. Some are physical needs. Some are psychological needs. But the art of selling is being able to identify those wants and needs and fulfill them with your product or your service. And the big mistake that people make when they're selling is they may have a great product or a service, but they try to sell it to the wrong person. For instance, let's use termite and pest control. I can't tell you how many times people have unknowingly, just not even realizing what happens, and they leave it up to a commercial advertising agent to make the right decisions for them, which they don't, because they're not aware of the needs and wants of your consumer. So, for instance, somebody takes out an ad, maybe with an ad agency, to do a direct mail piece or a sales campaign to a zip code, and it's a termite treatment, and it's a great deal, and you got a great product, you got a great deal, a deadline's good through next Friday. You got all of the proper buying response triggers in there, but 75% of the people who live in that zip code live in apartments or rental properties. Of course, those people don't buy termite and pest control. The owner of the apartment complex is the one ultimately that's going to put the bill for that. So if you were selling Lexus automobiles, you wouldn't want to do an advertising campaign to an area that was mostly mobile home parks, because people who live in mobile home parks generally don't spend money on Lexus automobiles. If you had a sporting goods store and you sold hunting and fishing equipment, and you wanted to network in your community, and you went out and joined groups in the community to meet people, you wouldn't want to join a Peter group, because those people aren't going to buy hunting and fishing equipment from you. So you got a great product or service, but you're selling it to the wrong group. And I've heard it said that what you want to do is you want to find a crowd of 1,000 starving people, and you want to open up a hamburger stand right in front of them and start shouting hamburgers. It's called the message. There's this marketing is like a three-legged stool. The message, the market, and the media. Those are the three things: the message, the market, the media of the three-legged stool. And with the three-legged stool, Mike, you know what happens if you remove one leg, the stool can't stand up. You know, a four-legged stool can stand up if you take away one leg, but not a three-legged stool. Three-legged stool topples over. So you've got to have the proper message, and you've got to identify the proper market to send that message to, and then you have to decide on the proper media. In other words, are you going to send it to these people through radio, television, direct mail, Facebook, Google AdWords, flyers, door-to-door knocking, telemarketing, an automobile with a loudspeaker on top, and you've got a microphone inside going up and down the street, signage on your vehicles and in yards, billboards, there pay-per-clicks, you know, organic search on the internet. There's so many media types for you to get your message to your market, to your prospective buyers. But if you screw up one of those legs and don't get it right, that stool will topple over. Won't be successful. And in the early days, you know, when I talked to Larry Latimer 20 years ago about direct mail for my pest control company, and I said, I tried with direct mail. It didn't work. Direct mail doesn't work for pest control companies, Larry. I'm sorry. And of course, he graciously and softly convinced me, Hal, if it didn't work, you didn't do it right. I said, well, I paid a professional ad agency to do it, Larry. I paid him $12,000. I didn't get anything from it. It wasn't my fault. He said, well, then it was, you know, give me a few minutes and I can show you why it didn't work. So he did. He explained to me, and I showed him one of my marketing pieces, and he explained to me that why it didn't shake the earth and shake any customers out of the woodwork. So you got to have those three things, and even going back to the caveman, you know, message, market, media. How was he going to, if he had a deer leg over his shoulder and it was an extra one and he wanted to barter it for somebody, he'd probably stand up on a rock and hold it up and wave it and shout it, grunt it out to people, you know. Let it be known that we have something here. Drums, you know, smoke signals, it doesn't matter. People have always had ways to communicate that they have something to barter with their fellow man. And so, you know, you and I always say it's not any one big thing, it's 1,000 little things, but basic human nature hasn't changed, and selling hasn't changed. You got to have something that people want, a product or a service that they want, and find enough people who are willing to pay you for it so that you can generate a profit and make money. And that's the way it is now, and that's the way it's always been. And we find so many people that in our clientele through the years are people who have come to us because their business is not growing, and we just show them, well, you have no message. You have no message. You've been spending a lot of money with a lot of people, online and offline, thousands of dollars to put you out there, and you go out there online and offline with no message. You have nothing to say other than the name of your company and your phone number. You have no compelling offer. You have no bold promise. You make no deal, no offer, no deadlines, no irresistible, compelling offers. And so if you go out there without that, you're not going to be successful. And in my case, if somebody works with me, what the first thing we do is put together that compelling message, put together the reason why somebody would want to pick up the phone and call you or click on a link and contact you. And with you, of course, online, you help our clients use online, the internet, to reach the proper people. You show them how to use the media online, and I show them how to use offline media. So, but without the compelling message, Without the deer leg over your shoulder, you're not going to attract hungry people. And if you're out on the desert and you got a barrel of water, if they don't know you've got it, they're not going to come to you. And if they know you got a barrel, but they don't know what's in it, most of them are not going to come to you. You see, so it's all about communication. It's all about solving problems. It's all about finding pleasure or alleviating pain. Tony Robbins says there's only two reasons people do anything, period. That's either to achieve pleasure or to avoid pain. Those are the only two reasons we do stuff. So it hasn't changed, Mike. It hasn't changed in 340,000 years, roughly. That's how long they tell us modern. I don't know. I'm not a paleontologist or a historian, but that number has been kicked around in a couple of my books on the subconscious. But however long we've been here, ever how long man's been on the planet, he's been selling and he's been buying, and he's been doing it for the same reasons all these years.
Well, Hal, this really, I'm going to kind of recap a lot of the same things you said, but these are things I've heard in my online experience. One of the things that I did for many, many years is I got around some very astute and accomplished copywriters. And what a copywriter is, for people who don't know, that's a person who comes up with the right words and the right message, and they're experts at that. And one of the things that I want to kind of recap that you said is, whether you're pest control or, like recently, I've got a mosquito only customer. I think you do too as well. But it doesn't matter what your business. These are things that you have really got to get clear in your mind. You got to know your market, where they are, where they hang out, the language they speak, how, where are they and how can you get to them? Some of them are online. Some of them want to be text messaged. Some want to do emails. Some want to do phone calls. Some go to networking meetings. Some look at billboards. I mean, you got to know how your market is going to find you and who your market is. Like you said, you don't want a zip code full of apartments, because those people don't buy pest control. And then you've got to present, and this is what we see over and over again. We see a very poor message with no response trigger. You have got to develop the right message to that market. And then one of the other things that you got to do is you got to decide what is the most effective media. I've heard years and years and years and years that online is the cheapest place to fail. Radio, television, billboards, yellow pages, they were all expensive advertising media. But media, we used to say at internet marketing seminars, who invented the internet? You know what everybody'd yell out? Al Gore.
Al Gore.
Yeah, well, he didn't invent the internet. Gutenberg did in 1500 AD, around that time. And you go, well, why would you say Gutenberg? Because Gutenberg was the guy who figured out how to get media or information distributed to the masses. And that's all the internet and television and radio and billboards are. That is information that, back in the days before the printing press, there weren't many books, because the only way books were able to be made were one at a time, with monks and scribes handwriting them. So there wasn't a lot of media back in those days. So mass media, the invention of the internet, which all the internet is just a technological advance of the ability to distribute information. So effectively using the internet, effectively using any media, because what happens is, if you spend too much money getting out the wrong message, you can lose a lot of money. So that's why know your market, know your message, and learn to use the most effective media. And one of the things that when you're building your message, we used to talk about it a lot. What are your features and what are your benefits? What is a feature of a pest control agency and what is a benefit? A feature is we have, the top of the line green chemicals that won't harm your pets. That's a feature. But the benefit is you'll be pest free. You will be termite free. That's a benefit. You'll be mosquito free in your backyard, because the feature we have the tools, the training, the expertise to guarantee you'll be mosquito free. And the benefit is you're going to have a backyard barbecue where you're not getting bit. So,
air conditioning is a feature of an automobile. The benefit is you ride around in cool comfort all summer long.
And if you don't learn the difference between features and benefits, you can't create the best message. I don't care what chemical you use to kill my termites if they're eating up my house. I don't care what the name of it is. That's a feature. I just want to know that you know how to keep my house from being destroyed. And the benefit is peace of mind. I remember one time somebody asked you, one of my marketing buddies asked you, what do you sell? And you didn't say pest control services. You said, I sell peace of mind. That's a benefit to have peace of mind. Yeah. So one of the other things that I want to talk about, you said it without even me telling you, but I heard years ago from a speaker, when you're creating your perfect message, you should include one of the 5 reasons people spend money. There's 5 reasons that this one guy narrowed it down to that people spend money. And maybe all of these don't apply to pest control, but they could. But here are the 5 reasons. People will spend money if they think they can make money. People will spend money with you if they think you will save them money. So if your message talks about how you do an amazing job at an affordable price and the avoidance of the damage and medical bills and all the other negative stuff that can happen by not hiring my service, it'll save you money and it'll save you time. But the 2 biggest reasons, so make money, save time. And of course, people want to escape pain or get pleasure. And those are the 5.
And there's 5 reasons they say no to you. That's kind of the other side of this. 5 reasons people say no to you. They don't want what you're selling. They don't need it. They can't afford it. They don't have the time to mess with it, or they don't trust you.
Right.
And so your job is just simply to overcome all of those things.
And you do that with the perfect
in your presentation. You don't wait until they tell you no. You deal with it in your presentations so that they never tell you no. Because once they tell you no, it becomes up to 10 times harder to turn them around and get them to say yes to you.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a good topic for another podcast right there.
I agree.
Somebody from saying no to you.
So at any rate, the thing that I wanted to finalize this with is that a lot of these things have nothing to do with technology. They have nothing to do with strategies. They have nothing to do with the media of today. They are constants. People have been wanting to make money for thousands of years. People wanted to save money for thousands of years. There's nothing. We all have the same amount of hours, So if you can do something that saves time so I can devote it to something I'd rather do, and I can do that by hiring you, make me aware of that. And of course, the thing is I want to have the pleasure in knowing that I have a pest-free home, and I want to escape the pain of big repairs and the fact that my wife is disgusted that there's roaches crawling on the floor. That's painful to go in to try to fix dinner and see a mouse crawl across the kitchen floor. That's pain. You want to eliminate that pain. So these principles are human nature. It doesn't matter. They're the same. And what I want to get to that is I'm going to put up a website here. I've got it up on the screen, but I'm going to tell you, it's really easy to remember, scientificadvertising.com. This is a book that was written by Claude Hopkins on the principles of salesmanship in words, written over 100 years ago.
And people still use it today.
They still use it today.
Religiously.
So my challenge and my question to you listening right now, have you heard of this book? Did you know it's free? Absolutely free at scientificadvertising.com. And have you read it? I have. And it has made me sale after sale after sale online, because everywhere it said direct mail or print, substitute internet, and the principles still work. So my challenge to you is, if you have never read scientificadvertising.com, you can get the ebook for free by Claude Hopkins, absolutely free. And if you haven't read it, then shame on you. There you go.
There you go. Well, Mike, I think we covered it, old pal.
All right.
I wanted to just make that one point today, that things haven't changed. And if you think that selling has changed and that's your excuse for not being able to generate customers, you just don't know much about selling, because selling hasn't changed. The tools to sell, some of them have changed. The media, but if you're not operating based on what Claude Hopkins teaches and what Mike and I teach, then you're not going to be. You may be a little bit successful, but you're going to leave fortunes laying on the table by not understanding the core principles of salesmanship. So anyway, Mike.
Well, no one makes $1 until somebody sells something.
That's exactly right.
All right. Well, I'm going to mention a few things here in the last 4 or 5 minutes. Number one, if you don't have Hal's book, How to Grow a Pest Control Business, go to howtogrowapestcontrolbusiness.com and download and read his book. It's absolutely free. No expectations, no tricks, no gimmicks. It's just good information that we're willing to give free to build a relationship with us. And what's even more importantly, you can call Hal. You know, Hal is willing to meet with people anytime that you want to get to know him better. He will actually invest an hour of his time if you're serious. If you're serious about growing your business, Hal, they can call you at 770-993-0004 or email you, hal@halcoleman.com. He has a form that you fill out, a questionnaire, and you'll see that I tell you, every time people that take that step and meet with Hal, they generally end up becoming your coaching client. Anything else you want to add about that?
No, and I work hard. That's why I do the questionnaire. I'm not just going to sit with you for an hour and try to talk you into coaching or anything. That doesn't even come into play. I'm going to have the questionnaire done so that I don't have to spend the whole hour asking you a lot of questions. I'll already have those questions. I'll already have your answers to them, and I will have made notes and suggestions and given you some insights and all of that. So you're going to get a big load of value from that hour that we spend together. And at the end of the hour, if you want to know about my coaching, you can say, well, how about telling me about your coaching? But if you don't want to know about my coaching, we won't talk about the coaching. We're just going to help you. That's what it's about, So give me a call.
770-993-0004.
And you do the same thing.
I do the exact same thing. You can learn a whole lot more about me at mikestewart.live. But more importantly, you can call me at 770-826-3662. And I really focus on three main things that you really got to be honest with yourself. Is your Google My Business optimized? Do you have 100+ Google 5-star reviews? If you don't, you need to look at those things. Do you have a website you control? Are you adding fresh content to that website weekly? If you're not going to build an internet presence. And I help people make that happen. And then more importantly, if you don't have a good paid advertising campaign to drive traffic to the perfect message, then you're missing a huge opportunity. We've had all kinds of customers that we've really turned their businesses around by getting that three-legged stool of Google My Business and content marketing and paid advertising. So call me at 770-826-3662. And I've got to also tell you, we've got a couple other things that you should visit. That's kind of the sponsorship of this program. Number one, we've got a annual event called the Next Level PCOmarketing.com annual event. We just had it recently, and all the recordings are there. You can go to it at any time, and it's a very inexpensive way to get access to hours and hours of great information. And then we also have a group coaching program that we love doing once a month, where it's one-on-one, where you can interact with your peers. And more importantly, you can interact with me and Hal. And members of PestControlMarketingGold.com, pestcontrolmarketinggold.com, they get free access to the next level PCO marketing. So the gold members there are so many ways to get the information, but you know what? You have to take the action and just believe that it's 1,000 little things that make a difference. With that, Hal, this has been another great podcast. I appreciate it. If you got any closing words, we'll call it a day.
Let me just say thanks, folks, for listening and watching this episode of Pest Control Marketing Podcast and pestcontrolmarketing.live, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Hal Coleman has been active in the pest control industry for over 40 years, including owning and operating his own successful pest control business for 18 years. He now devotes his time to helping other PCOs and other WCOs double, triple, and even quadruple their businesses faster than they ever imagined. Be sure to check out his website, pestcontrolmarketer.com. For more information about Hal's coaching program, you can reach him at 770-993-0004 or email him hal@halcoleman.com. Mike Stewart is known as the Internet audio and video guy. Since the birth of the Internet, Mike has been showing small business owners how to get more new customers, increase their sales, and grow their businesses online using audio and video, now with iPhones and Android phones. For more information about Mike's coaching program and his online training courses, visit MikeStewartCoaching.com or email him mike@internetaudioguide.com.
Google Pest Control Marketer. Grow your business like never before. Call 770-993-0004.